Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages and types. I'm alone in Finland, this is EVO Online, and we have had a new update. As you can see here, I've got one of the new ships in front of us. This is the Squall, is it? Yeah, this is the Squall. So of the new ships, we have here the Squall, we have the Deluge and the Torrent, which we'll get into in a second. But first, I want to give a bit of a warning because I've seen some people talking about this. And I'll go into a bit of the situation with myself. But for those of you that are sort of newer to the game and you haven't been round this before, I want to explain something that's going to happen on the market because it happens every time these things come up and certain things get affected. So, we've had a big update. This update has changed something fundamental in the way that things are built. Where it has taken, if you have a look in here, there's certain materials. So these trigger units that used to make faction battleships and battle cruisers and cruisers now only make the capital stuff. So that change came and, well, for me personally, it absolutely shafted me. But I'll get into that in a little bit. But because this has changed, it has changed the value of these particular units, which has caused a massive knock-on effect. And this knock-on effect, some people could misread if they are if they don't know what's happened in the past and how this trend usually happens. So if I just bring this up as an example, we have a Charon blueprint here. And at the moment, if you have a look at the Charon, if we just go to buy all, now I'm in Jita 4.4, so if you were to buy all the stuff, you could see down here at the bottom, it's about 2.7 billion to build a Charon. However, if you actually go to the market details, you can see that it's 2.1 billion that they're selling for, and people are buying them for 2.52. So a lot of people might rush out there and go, oh, look, this sort of build price is far in excess of what people are selling for. Let's buy them up or put buy orders up, get a whole load of them, and then we can make profit in like a month or two. However, this would reinforce this. So if you can see here, the price has started to crash since sort of before the update. It has been coming down and down and down because people knew about not just the fact that they have put in what I call ISK printing, so these automatic moon miners, but now people in nullsec have actually got the ability to configure their space and choose what ore spawns in particular areas. So essentially for industry, you could set up a few systems to spawn particular types of ore, isogen being the main one, and it would be ridiculously cheap. At the same time, because of this whole shift in the way that faction battleships are built, but no changes being made to the way that gas is sort of throughout the systems, it has devalued gas and then the components after that, which go all the way up to the trigger units. So that is making some components more expensive, and then obviously you have all these other parts that will sort of change value, and there will be a knock-on effect to this. But what is going to happen here is, as the value of the freighters crash and a few other ships around about this value will come down for a little while, but then it won't go back up. So if you are sort of buying them, grabbing them up, it might go up for a short time, like a short peak here and there, but it's going to continue going down because the ability to manufacture these things, or just the ability to gather this ore at a cheaper rate, will sort of slightly bleed into high sec. It's worth remembering as I go through the rest of this that this entire update was supposed to be based entirely around nullsec. And if I bring it over here, just so you can see the general stuff, you can see the expansion notes. We've got null sovereignty changes, the orbital skyhook, the sovereignty hub, the territorial claim unit, sovereignty upgrade, sovereignty hub transaction, the Metanox moon drill, which I just call the ISK printer. All of that is just to do with nullsec, which is 10% of the population of EVE. Now, that's not saying that they shouldn't get anything or anything like that, because nullsec has been wanting for quite some time. So I'm not sort of slating that, I'm just saying that that is a small chunk of the population. However, they have now been, with this ability to configure for whatever order they want, they've been handed the golden goose. So this is kind of phenomenal, and my advice is to not piss about on the market at the moment, because you're going to lose a lot, and some people, including myself, already have. I'll explain that in a second. To go through the rest of the stuff, we've got the new haulers and the freighter. We've got some balance changes, some graphical stuff, the new skin system, which I haven't quite gone into, but I'll sort of give a rough overview of it. And then corporation projects. So as corporations, you can sort of define projects and things, so that you can have your members making more stuff, and have sort of defined goals, as opposed to just general chat. You can actually sort of write it down and codify it. Then you've got the Air daily goals. It says improved Air daily goals. It's questionable, but it's definitely a different system, and it's quite interesting for me. I'm not sure if it's better or worse. That will come with time. But at the moment, I'm quite interested for it. Then this ship emphasis. So this is basically, look, you have a skin, we're advertising this. And this is sort of linked into something else that's sort of the basis of this entire skin thing. They've changed home front operations again. I have asked this repeatedly, and if anybody is wanting to put comments into this, I'm really interested to know, does anybody who is watching me, or does anybody know any other people who do home front operations with other people? Because every single person that I have spoken to about this, it is just somebody multi-boxing. And that's not to shit on them, but it has turned into a weird niche thing where if you multi-box, you get these extra rewards. And I think that that shouldn't be sort of part of the game. It's one thing to go into combat multi-boxing, it's one thing to do it for mining and stuff like this. But this, where there is something that pays high above the norm, if you multi-box it, that just seems odd to me to include. And then we have some PvE and some manufacturing changes. Now, I haven't found this PvE stuff for the Paragon missions yet. It says added new Paragon missions to request additional frigates, Navy frigates, additional destroyers, Navy destroyers, T1 cruisers, and blah blah blah. So I haven't actually found that stuff yet. But the rest of it basically is, there is a few more stuff for the incursion runners, which is fantastic. There's a few more things that pop up in Poshfin. I've said this before, but I've never run anything in Poshfin without having somebody try to jump me. So I think that could do with a balance. I understand the need, I understand the wanting for it, but it's just too hostile in my opinion, with the delayed local, because every single time I've gone into Poshfin, with the exception of just jumping through there, like not travelling at all, every single time I have had somebody decloak on me. It's like there's just cloakies in every system. If other people have different sort of experiences, that please put it down below. I'm very curious as to other people's experience in this as well. But for me, I see that as really hostile. So it's kind of interesting what's going on. Then we've got some of the C5 and C6 anomalies, some modifications. It basically looks like they're trying to sort of curtail the people that are AFK in these things. And then just stuff in general sort of to do with the minor victory systems, which I'm not sure how many people are running these. I sort of hang about in a few on occasion, and I've not seen much sort of, with the exception of one in Minmatar space, I've not seen much action in them in general. So I'm not quite sure. But then we get into manufacturing. So, Concord Rogue analysis beacon reduced the amount of Megacide required for manufacturing. That's fine. LP stores removed all ship hulls from LP stores, so you have to build them now. This is sort of forcing you into the manufacturing system, which I agree with. Added new manufacturing component, the net resonator for each for each pirate faction for the manufacture of subcapitals. And that's the kicker. So when they say they added this component, they also removed the trigger units. So the trigger units plunged in value. For me personally, that was about a quarter of my assets, and I lost billions like in a day. It just, the value disappeared. I've actually been working a lot, as I've said, and I've not had much time. This is why a lot of videos haven't I haven't made any videos, because I haven't been on Eve, I haven't been in front of the computer, and I've just had the sort of time to come home, see the kids and fall asleep. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but I'm actually quite ill at the moment, and I am just running on drugs essentially, all prescription or over the counter, but I'm essentially getting up in the morning, taking my painkillers, taking my stimulants, and dealing with work until I can get home, and once they wear off I just collapse. So I've not been gaming or anything like that. So with that, I logged in on the day of this update, probably about 11 o'clock at night, so a good sort of, well, about 8 hours I think after this came live, and my value, the amount of stuff that I had decreased in price dramatically, and a whole load of the sell orders, where I had stuff that was up for sale, the value had just plunged. So if I was selling something at 1.3 billion, it was under 1 billion, and it was under my manufacturing costs, where I would usually get 150 million profit. All of a sudden it was a fire sale, and it plunged down, and it hasn't recovered from there for what I was selling. So for me, it actually wiped billions off of the value of what I've got, and I don't really have much left in the game. I don't have anything that I can sort of use to build capital with. I have to grind a lot to get a whole load of stuff back, so it's actually been quite torturous. And this particular net resonator thing, this was the main cause of it, because of the cost of the trigger values going down, which had a knock-on effect through the stuff that makes them, through the gases and things like that. All of that stuff dropped in value and royally shafted me. Now then, after that, there's another part to that, but I'll get to that in a sec. Changed the LP offers for pirate hull BPCs, which is fair enough. Subcapital pirate hulls, removed the Neuralink conduits from the subcapital. So this is sort of what has killed the gas industry as well. Added the new component, blah blah blah. The T2 capital T2 guns have had some changes to them, and then this new skill, mutagenic stabilization, has been added as a requirement to build genetic mutation inhibitors. I actually have no idea what this is, and I've searched for it a couple of times and can't find any info on it, so there's something going on, but I don't know. Please put in the comments if you know, because I genuinely spent about 2 hours yesterday searching for this. I have no idea what the hell it is. So that's pretty much it. Now, to get into what's the sort of problem with this, in my opinion, is that you have, the way that they've done it, they have taken out where do we have them? Battleships. Should just pop up here. So faction battleships, pirate factions. So as you can see here, what's quite funny is the Macarials come up in price. The Nestor has dropped by 4 billion. The Nightmare's dropped by 4 billion. The Balgorn has come up slightly in price. Rattlesnake's the same, and the Vindicator, oh, the Vindicator's back up in price, which is interesting. Let's just check this one first. There you go. So that recovered not too bad. However, oops, if I go back to this, now the Macario coming up in price makes sense, because the ability to manufacture this now requires this particular component, the Angel Net Resonator, which can only be got by running missions for the Angels. And because the Angels are one of the factions that you can run pirate stuff through, if you go into their system, or if you join their faction, so you can do that through your faction warfare, then obviously a lot of people are getting these, which means that the price will come down and more people will build Macarials. So that price will sort of be okay, because people can sort of manufacture them for a decent price. As you can see here, there is up and down with what's going on here, but it's not too bad. However, if we take that same example and go specifically to the nightmare, what you see here is that the price is dropping because the nightmare isn't one of the factions. The Sancha aren't one of the factions you can regularly run missions for in that way, the same as the angels. You have to be in their space and at their stations. But in their space is nullsec, so the people at their stations have to be as part of those. You can't run those missions if you're on solo, because you're a target to everybody if you're unaligned. And yes, I'm sure there's somebody in the comments going, I do it all the time and I've never had a problem. And yeah, we all know that type. But this is the thing, there isn't as much market. And because there isn't as much market, you don't have as many of these Sanchanet resonators coming through just yet. Hopefully they will add this into the faction warfare, so that you can be Sanchas, you can be sort of through the other ones as well. I'm trying to think of the ones for the Balgon. The Blood Raiders, that's the one. And then you can get those resonators sort of through that linkage, as opposed to just being a nully that is aligned and sort of has control over that particular system. So that's one of the things that's kind of shot this in the face, but it's had a big knock-on effect because, for instance, the Nestor, with the Nestor, this is one where you can, if you're running missions for Sisters of Eve, which means that it's high sec available, you can get these net resonators fairly easy. And because of that, the price is sort of down here. You've got 2.5 million. However, if we go back to one of the other ones, I've lost it already. There we go, Nightmare's a perfect example. And we have a look at the Nightmare, the resonator from them. It's sort of 1 million more. And it's unlikely to come lower. You can see it's got higher buy orders. And this is just sort of the same sort of thing that's going to go on. This should be a little bit lower. But this is part of the problem, in my opinion, with it, is that this is, although it was null focused, this was something that sort of kind of screwed the industry in high sec. And I can understand the reasoning behind it. And a lot of this, I'll sort of put this forward, a lot of this is me particularly salty because overnight billions disappeared off of my game. Because it was all in active orders and active building and things like this, so it royally sort of screwed me. And nobody likes coming on to find out that the stuff that you've been working for months has just vanished. So that's a big part of me being sort of annoyed about this and not being as objective as possible, because I can understand why they would do this. I can understand sort of streamlining the manufacturing process, but in my opinion, it doesn't make it streamlined if you are requiring a manufacturing process to need a different unit for just these particular battleships, or for the battleships, the battle cruisers, and the cruisers, as opposed to the way that it was working, where you had the trigger units. Because in my opinion, it would have made more sense to actually put the trigger units as just standard battleship components as well, because you had 2 trigger units in for each of the faction ones, which would make sense because the faction ones are usually a combination of 2 different types of battleship. So it made more sense that way for me. But then on top of just the raw value of what was lost, what depreciated for me, there's also all of the blueprints. Because if you look down here in Amamaki, all of my stuff for converting gas. So all of these reaction blueprints that I've got down there for pumping out the stuff nice and fast. If you're wondering why I have multiple of the same, it's because Amamaki is an open station, and somebody might do something, like they might reinforce it or something like that if they decided to. I would never run for more than 2 days, so I would set this up to do as much as possible in 2 days, so I'd have 4 running for whichever ones I was creating. I can do 10 jobs maximum, therefore I would sort of have 8 going or 10 going, sort of the these particular ones as well, because you needed some of these, you needed some of these to manufacture the stuff. So I would sort of have 4 of the neural links, of the enhancers, plus a stabilizer for each of the components I was making, and I would batch them out in 2-day runs, so that even if the place got reinforced, I could still get my stuff out before it got nailed. So that's the reason for having all of those. But now all of those are worthless to me because I don't build capitals, and they are only capital components now. So there's a lot of people that is going to be sort of stuck with the industry for building these, and I know there's a lot of people because I know how many orders come and go. So it's to make the manufacturing better, we've shot it in the face. So it's an interesting technique. For me personally, it has actually shot it in the face. I'm not particularly interested in doing the manufacturing again because of how much I just lost. So I'm coming out of that in general, and I've already put up the blueprints for sale, but so has everybody else. So the market for the blueprints has been saturated as well. And as you can sort of see here as we go through, I've got a whole load of components for some of the newer stuff, but that will sort of run its course, and I'm just going to reset some of the blueprints, copy some of the blueprints, and then sell the lot of it, because that royally pissed me off. As I said, I came back to the game just at the end of last year, so in 6 months I had built up quite a bit. I had built up a few tens of billions from the stuff that I had and building on top of it, and in 1 week I've just lost everything that I built up. I'm actually back to the exact same value that I had when I restarted. So this update is particularly sort of wounded my interest to play at the moment, because it's kind of torturous. When this is on top of having a particularly difficult week as well, so it's not all the games thing. But then as we go through a few of the other things, I want to show some stuff here. So the Air Daily goals have been slightly changed, and essentially what's going on now is you will get the same sort of 4 tasks to do. Like for instance, yesterday I got salvage 15 wrecks, but I got it twice in the same thing. From what I understand of this, everybody gets the same one, but it's nice and simple. However, instead of getting them every day, you get 12 a month, and if you get 12 a month, you get these sort of rewards. Now if you're Omega, like I am on this account, you get both of the rewards. So if you do your 12 days, you will end up with more skill points than you did before. Some of it you will get 5 plex, that's always useful. Then you'll get sort of 9 million Skinner sequencer rewards. So these things should sort of redo Evermarks. I've got tons, I'm just never going to use them. So these are the sort of rewards that you get, and you only need to do it 12 days to get these skill point rewards. There is some login rewards that's still going on. I thought they were disappearing, but they still seem to be there, so we're still getting some stuff. Maybe it's just for a little while this has been released, but at the moment that's still going on. Now while this is going on, let's just have a little shufty at this. So if we have a look at a thing now, if you go into personalization, you've got this view sequenced skins. So if we go in here, as you can see, most people that view me know that my screen is massive. It's stupidly wide as opposed to tall, and you can see that, as an example, I have to unlock them, but I keep all my windows over to the side. This is why my screen's set up like this. There's a manufacturing video that I did a while back that sort of shows this. So I've got lots of boxes over here, and this screen shows up behind the boxes, so I can see the same amount of the shot that you can when it comes to this particular shift. But if we undock this and bring it down, it's a weird choice for them to do that. So what we've got here is sort of general design elements, and we've got some patterns, some shiny stuff here, and as you can see, it all costs plex. Now you're getting 5 plex a month, so if you want to buy like one of the simple ones, then that would cost you 5 plex. That would cost you 10 plex for like this one, which would be 2 months worth of the free plex. I believe, let me just double check that. Oops, wrong one. Not that one either. That one. Yep, so you only get the 5 plex if you're in Omega. So it would be 2 months if you're in Omega to get the 10 plex for one of the basic little ones. I don't think that there are any at 5 plex at all. And basically my takeaway of this is that what they are doing is trying to sort of create a revenue stream for a CCP that is similar to the skin market on, say for instance, Counter-Strike, where you have skins that are traded as opposed to just one person owning them. And they've had that in the market, but the market price inflates them so much that most people just don't bother with them. I have bought one skin off of the market. Let me just find it. There it is. So that's the only one that I bought that was of any like severe value. And it's just because I really like the white paladin. But ironically, I fly the paladin in armor space for armor missions, and under the sun in armor space, this thing looks slightly yellow. So it was kind of a bit of a schmeh. But yeah, so that's the... I've bought some other skins in general, some smaller, cheaper ones, and then I've just gotten a whole load of the free ones. So yeah, this is the sort of stuff that I've got. Not much going on at all. Most of the basic stuff. But that's sort of my opinion of what they're doing with this. And you can do, if you go into the studio, what you can do is you can create new designs, and then you basically pick components and apply colours to them. So it's fairly simplistic, but it's a little bit of customization. And then you've got some little patterns and stuff like that that you can sort of mess about with. And all of these, again, these particular options all cost plex each. So if you want to make something, it's gonna cost you. It's a revenue stream, and that's, you have to remember that CCP is a company, so they have to make money to do this. And EVE Online is a particularly expensive game to run from a company's point of view, because the server cluster is massive. There's a lot of stuff behind it, so I don't begrudge stuff like this. Yeah, that seemed an odd way to cancel out of it. I don't begrudge stuff like this because they do need to generate money. For me, some of the stuff where it becomes a bit predatory with, like for instance, the alpha counts. I mentioned this, I think I mentioned this on the last time I tried to record this video, but my voice sounded so bad because of the sinus infection. But basically, if you start an alpha account at the moment, it will sort of go, oh, this is an offer that you will get for like the next couple of hours. If you go to Omega, you will get a certain percentage off. But at time limits, it says it's within the next few hours. However, if you let that expire, it then gives you the same offer. And that to me is particularly predatory, because putting that time limit on it is trying to push them into it. It's that sort of compulsive buying thing. And I dislike that massively. I don't think you should do that. You should sort of sell on the merit of your own game, or if you can afford to knock the prices down, then knock the prices down. I'm okay paying for the games for the amount of stuff that they require, and I will support the games that I like. For instance, be it Space Engineers when it comes out with updates, or Rust when it comes out with skins. I will buy a couple of the skins for Rust, And nowadays the skin market's sort of dead for it, but I'll still buy them because it supports the development, and the developers are still working really hard at that game. So because there's more stuff going into it, even though I don't quite play much of it at the moment because I don't have the time, I'll still support them because I like the game and I like the developers and stuff like that. And that being said, I know I'm shitting on this update because it's royally screwed me, but I still like these updates, this content that comes out for the games, because there's a lot of games that I've played that have become very stagnant, and EVE's going on for 21 years now. For me personally, I've been playing it for 19, sort of mainly, full-time-ish player, so that's something that I like and I would support, but at the same time, I'm never going to hold back my feedback, criticism or bonus. So if I'm happy about something, I'll be very excited about it. If I'm critical of something, I'm gonna say it the exact same. I don't think you should sort of shy away from that stuff. With that being said, I really like these new models. I mentioned before that they kind of look like sort of a streamlined orca, but I quite like that. I think they're really cool. So we'll see what's sort of going on with the next stages of this, because to me it kind of looks like they are setting up specifically for bringing in some more pirate factions for the, I cannot use my words today, the faction warfare, which should be quite interesting. I'm kind of interested in stuff like that, and I've set up a character to actually do some of the faction warfare as specifically as the pirate faction, so the Guristas or the Angels, or maybe going through both to see what's going on. But I just don't have the time to get to it at the moment because of work. During the summer I won't be able to make many videos because lots of buildings, lots of farming, lots of stuff, and I was handed a 15 kilo sledgehammer. I don't know what that is in pounds, but it's at least 30 something pounds the other day, and it just tore my shoulder with how much I was swinging the bleeding thing. So a lot of recovery, and it'll be a bit slower in the videos, so apologies for that if you wanted more content, but it will keeps coming and stuff like that. Although I'm disappointed with the update, it's not something that would ever sort of push me out of the game. It's something I always come back to. And if you want to see anything else from us, then let us know in the comments and stuff like that. Give us suggestions and stuff like that in general. I've got a lot of different games that I play, but most of them are sort of, I'm more focused on solo story games. I do play Space Engineers. I play Kerbal Space Program, not the second one because it was dog shit, and it looks like it's now dying. All of the development team's been let go at the end of the summer, so it looks like it will never be finished like some of us predicted the second they released that game in its broken state. So, c'est la vie. But I also play Space Engineers and stuff like that. And then it's just sort of going through solo games. And I'm quite looking forward to the new Horizon game that's it's out on PC at the moment, but with PlayStation doing that whole, oh, we're going to release this as an exclusive on our consoles. My answer to that is, well, I'm not going to buy your game on PC when it's released until it's reduced. I would happily support a game at release if it's a good game, something I'm interested in playing, but if somebody pulls that exclusive nonsense, I am not buying it until it's on sale. So that's just me personally, as a little, well, if you're gonna treat me like dog shit, I'm gonna respond. So that's something I'm looking forward to playing. And then what's the next one that's coming out? Oh, that was it, Death Stranding. The new Death Stranding should be out at some point this year. Hopefully it's not PlayStation exclusive, but it most probably is. But I want to get hold of that as soon as possible because I absolutely love Death Stranding. I think it's a perfect example of the sort of Yahtzee games or art thing. So there's a few things that I sort of go through and they take a bit of time. And if somebody's interested in seeing them, then I'll make videos about them. Otherwise I'll just stick to the easiness because it sort of makes a little bit more sense. But for the moment, thanks for watching. Oh, also for the next little while, if you are playing this over the next couple of weekends after this video is released, be careful around Jita because it is ganker heaven at the moment. I was jumping between stations earlier today, just stations inside Jita, and I actually saw 6 ganks happen inside Jita, not at Jita 4-4, not at any of the gates. And I thought that was incredible because I've never seen that sort of level of gankiness going on. And because I'm talking, I've just redocked. So that's how my brain's working at the moment. But yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and comments, critiques, positives, suggestions, everything down below. I love the feedback. I love sort of chatting away to people, so it's always welcome. Well, I'll see you next time. Bye.